Today's Dallas Cowboys Report is presented by Magic Spoon. It's healthy cereal that actually tastes good. It doesn't taste like cardboard like some of the other healthier versions out there. You'll get $5 off your first order, or multiple orders there if you want to grab a box, or 4 boxes at once, when you go to magicspoon.com/Cowboys. That link, folks, will be in both the comment section and in the description to make your lives a little bit easier. We've talked a lot about breakout year for Ezekiel Elliott, right? But could he end up disappointing? I almost gave this one 3 stars. I'm going to give it 2 for now. Try and stay positive. But I think we have to acknowledge this is a real potential. Now, he's drawn praise, as we've discussed many a time here on the Cowboys Report, before training camp. He looks slim, he looks explosive, he looks quick, all that good stuff. He was unquestionably a disappointment last season. Now, to be fair, not all of that was his fault. The fumbles certainly were, but he lacked big plays, which was in part because the offensive line was injured. All right, he had a bunch of backups in there. His quarterback was hurt. Teams keyed in on him. It's also worth noting that Tony Pollard was more explosive and more efficient than Zeke, admittedly on a smaller sample size, and a couple of those big runs really helped balance out. I would actually argue Zeke is still the more consistent of the backs. Pollard's a bit more boom or bust, and Elliott does a fantastic job of, he's getting hit in the backfield, going to take a loss of 2, turns into a positive 2-yard gain. Still a bit of a disappointment, though. The yards per carry, the efficiency, the success rate, it's all gone in the wrong direction and kind of flatlined in 2020. 4 yards per carry. There's no way around it, folks. That's just the guy numbers. That's a jag, not someone you're trying to pay $15 million to each year. You got to get closer to at least 4.5. Otherwise, I can find 4 yards per carry. I have 4 yards per carry in Tony Pollard. I need more. I need a minimum 1,000-yard season. And frankly, with 17 games this year, I need even more than that. Elliott has to bring me more success and more positive results, or otherwise, what's the point? It doesn't fit for the Cowboys. So I am feeling pretty optimistic that this will be a better year for Zeke, that he's going to have more success and be a better football player. But it's not guaranteed. So I thought Bleacher Report listing Zeke as a player who could disappoint, actually pretty fair in the end. Of course, I want to hear from you guys. We're a show for the people, after all. What is your confidence level in Ezekiel Elliott? Rate this for me on a scale of 1 to 10. Get your votes in right now. Let's head to Justin Houston. Could the Cowboys pursue the veteran and still fairly productive edge rusher? I'm going to give this one just the 1 star. Now, that could change if there are injuries, but as things sit right now, feels a bit unlikely. Now, Bleacher Report did list the Cowboys as a quote-unquote logical landing spot. We will get more in depth on that in a second. But first, Houston, he is aging. He is still productive. I don't know, though, if he's going to be the most likely outcome in the end. So I don't know what the end result there will be for the Cowboys in terms of the role for Justin Houston. I don't know if there's enough opportunity for him. He's still a good football player, but investment matters, and the Cowboys have invested in other edge rushers. So that's why I don't really agree with Houston being on this logical landing spot list. The Dolphins were also on there. I think they make a little bit more sense than the Cowboys do. The Ravens, if they want a veteran, same with Minnesota, maybe KC. Dallas being on there, I just don't buy it. I am banking on a Randy Gregory breakout year. And I like Justin Houston. He's a good football player. He can still contribute as a part-time edge rusher, but I think Houston is looking for a bigger payday than what the Cowboys want to offer right now and more opportunity. So Tank Lawrence, Randy Gregory, those are going to be your top 2 edges. Very simple on that front. They have paid Terrell Basham. He's making this team. He's going to play a key role. Even if Chauncey Golston is a more of a redshirt guy in year 1, that's 3 guys who are going to play key snaps for the Cowboys. I don't know if Justin Houston wants to come be a 3B to Terrell Basham. Because of that, I think it puts things in a pretty difficult situation as it relates to the Cowboys actually being able to bring in Justin Houston. Now, if Gregory gets hurt, I'm changing my tune. As things sit right now, don't think it's the most sensible outcome. Now, who here wants $5 off their first order of Magic Spoon? Every single person that does, head down to the comment section and type in me. I will respond to you guys and hook you up with the URL. And of course, even if you're not typing in me, we're going to do it anyway. All right? $5 off your first order at magicspoon.com/Cowboys. I finally got a sponsor that gets me. A peanut butter cereal that is delicious. And oh, by the way, it's actually very good for you. Helps me work on the dad bod I've cultivated too recently. 0 grams of sugar, 13 grams of protein, only 4 net carbs in each serving. It's also got 140 calories, by the way. The peanut butter version, just so you guys know, even higher in protein. A bit of a win-win there. So head over to magicspoon.com/Cowboys. That gets you $5 off your first box. I love it, and I'm pretty sure you guys will as well. So check the comment section and the description. I'll put that link in there for you guys right now. Let's chat Richard Sherman now because, well, it's always going to pop up, right? Still 1 star. And the argument that was pitched by FanSided was, hey, the Cowboys need Richard Sherman, which we'll discuss the numbers game in a second. Now, they actually had the Cowboys as the number 1 team for Sherman, which I can't get on board with it. The Cowboys took 2 corners in the top 100 picks. They have committed to some of those younger guys. And oh, by the way, of the teams Sherman said he's spoken with, the Cowboys were not among them. That is significant. That should matter a lot more than I think what has been played. And not to mention that, there's the whole, he called out Jerry Jones. I don't know if Jerry's going to like that thing. These were the top 5 teams from FanSided. Cowboys at number 1, Jets at number 2. The Jets have frankly been my number 1, by the way. The 49ers at number 3, the Packers at number 4, and the Bills at number 5. I don't think the Niners bring him back, by the way. Packers and Cowboys both just spent early round picks on corners, who we'll get into more in depth in a second. But first, folks, if you haven't already, subscribe. If you're still wondering, well, what about Richard Sherman? We've gone over this many a time. There will come a day when I will convince national media to pay attention to what I say and what you guys say in the comments section, because we're pretty right pretty often. It's kind of obvious there. So hit that big red button and subscribe if you haven't already. The numbers game, right? Kelvin Joseph, Nashawn Wright, they're going to make this team. Jordan Lewis, Trevon Diggs, they're going to make this team. And those, in theory, are going to be 4 of your top 5 corners. Now, the only real path in which this makes sense for the Cowboys is if they cut or trade Anthony Brown. But if they were going to do that to bring in a veteran like Richard Sherman, why are they waiting? Why wouldn't they have done that earlier so that Sherman has more time to acclimate and get adjusted to this Cowboys team? I think they're going to keep Anthony Brown, and unless one of the young guys shows out, Joseph or Wright, in which case you need a veteran there, right? He would be a great mentor. I have no doubts about that. And before they drafted 2 corners in the top 100, I thought Sherman made some sense. He could come in, be a stopgap option. But between Anthony Brown, Kelvin Joseph, and yes, Nashawn Wright now, I don't really see the role or the fit for either side. The Cowboys don't need a corner, and Sherman doesn't want to just be a mentor. He wants to play and get paid. He's a football player. That's how all of them are wired, especially when they were starters recently. Doesn't really make enough sense for me. That's why it's just the 1 star. Of course, I want you guys to get your votes in here as well. What is the % chance that the Cowboys end up signing Richard Sherman? Get your votes in for me right now in the comment section. Let's talk now about Osa Odighizuwa here on the Dallas Cowboys Report. Listed as a potential surprise starter. And you know what? I actually don't mind this idea. In fact, it would be a good thing if he did end up being a surprise, or at least I hope it would end up being a good thing. We'll talk more about the hope and potentiality there more in depth here in a second. But the Cowboys have invested in Osa Odighizuwa. 3rd-round pick out of UCLA, new coaching staff, at least defensive line and defensive coordinator. They were the ones who were so involved in the taking of Odighizuwa. He does, however, have to beat out some fellow former day 3 draft picks. Now, in all reality, I expect Odighizuwa to be lined up at that 3 technique position, roles that Neville Gallimore and Trysten Hill will probably be competing with. And much like last year, I think there was some, maybe Gallimore can earn that starting role over Trysten Hill. And he did eventually, because Trysten Hill got hurt. But Hill was still playing over Gallimore early in the season. Because of that, I would be surprised if Osa Odighizuwa opens up as a starter in week 1. It's possible, but I'd be surprised. But at some point this season, I could sit a little bit higher. So get your votes in for me. Do you think Odighizuwa will start this season? Type in Y for yes. You think he's going to earn that role over Gallimore and Hill. Or type in N for no. Get your votes in right now. Let's talk Gallimore here more in depth. Then we'll come back to Hill and we'll come back to Odighizuwa as well. Gallimore showed a lot of promise down the stretch late last season. All right? 4 tackles for loss, was super impactful, had only the half sack there, but a lot of quarterback hits. He was making a big deal for the Cowboys down the stretch. Now, they were so bad on the defensive line, there was no one else to really play in the long run. So that's a big thing to keep in mind there. Otherwise, I'm hopeful that the Cowboys end up having more success, that they end up having more impact from Gallimore and from others. Trysten Hill, in reality, is one of those guys. Trysten Hill has to be able to make an impact for this team. Otherwise, I question whether or not he's going to do anything in the NFL. In 2019, he was healthy, but he barely got on the field. He was barely making any tangible impact. He was a backup to a backup. He showed more in 2020. Was still not very good against the run, but he was showing more before he tore his ACL. His health, his medical recovery is going to be a massive factor in this competition on the defensive line. Meanwhile, Odighizuwa at times played out of position for UCLA, did show some flashes. I think Dan Quinn, who did a great job with Grady Jarrett, for example, could be the right guy to get the most out of him. Of course, it hasn't always worked out that way because no one ever bats 100. So I'm keeping it 2 stars for now. I do think Odighizuwa could emerge and be a starter for this team. Maybe not, and probably not in week 1. Down the stretch, by the time it gets to week 15 or whatever, I think and I hope he's playing a key rotation role. But this development will be one to certainly keep an eye out for as we get further along through training camp and into the preseason.